CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe was also in Colombia Saturday, and despite a case of laryngitis, he did catch up with California Senator Kamala Harris and asked her if Democrats should give the president credit for calling off a strike on Iran.
I don't believe that anyone should receive credit for a crisis of their own making. There is no question in my mind that the current occupant of the White House, President Trump, put in place a series of events that led to that event.
How would President Harris fix the problem?
Well, frankly, I believe that we need to get back into the Iran nuclear deal. I would strengthen it. I would include ballistic missile testing. I think that we can strengthen what we do in terms of monitoring and verification of progress. But there's no question that a lot of negotiation with a great deal of depth took place over a long period of time to reach that agreement, and it was an agreement that was being complied with by all parties.
Where do you rank Iran in terms of threats to the United States?
I am on the Senate Intelligence Committee. On a very consistent basis, I receive classified briefings about the threats to our nation's security. And on the list of potential threats, especially in terms of nuclear threat, North Korea is, of course, on that list, and Iran is on that list. And there are others. But we have to conduct ourselves in a way that we are smart about what we do, to have one and one goal only, which is ensuring that our nation is secure. And it cannot be the goal to express one's ego and to engage in gamesmanship without much serious regard to the consequence. And I think that's what we've seen in this president.
And we'll have more of Ed's interview with Senator Kamala Harris coming up, so don't go away.
This portion of Face the Nation is sponsored by BP. At BP, we see possibilities everywhere.
We'll be right back with more of CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe's interview with Senator Kamala Harris, plus interviews with two key House leaders on Iran. Democrat Adam Smith and Republican Michael McCaul will be with us along with our political panel. So stay with Face the Nation. Welcome back to Face the Nation. We continue with Ed O'Keefe's interview with Senator Kamala Harris.
The president is set to meet with Vladimir Putin at the G20. Would you meet with him if you're president?
It depends. I mean, listen, I believe that we do have to have open lines of communication, and I will never foreclose that as a viable option. But let's be clear about this president's relationship with Russia. The current president of the United States has taken the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community on the issue of the election in 2016. The current president of the United States takes the word of a North Korean dictator over the word of the American intelligence community when it comes to an American student who was tortured and later died. The current president of the United States takes the word of a Saudi prince over the word of the American intelligence community when it comes to a journalist who was assassinated, a journalist who has American credentials. So I would not do that. I trust the intelligence community of the United States. But you might have to meet with Putin. But it would not be without an appropriate amount of, one, reading the briefing book. Let's start there. Sadly, that we even have to talk about that as being a requirement. It would not be without meeting with leaders in our Department of State, meeting with our military leaders to determine what is the smartest and best course of action for the United States. These are not just about relationships that are based on some trust that, or maybe previous relationship that president has with the president of Russia. It has to be based on what is in America's best interest, not self-interest.
Let's talk about Joe Biden.
Okay.
You've criticized him for praising his ability to work with people who had very different views.
No, that wasn't my criticism.
What was your criticism?
I applaud any effort to work across party lines around common goals and common interests.
But what bothered you?
Praising and coddling individuals who made it their life works and built their reputation off of segregation of the races in the United States. That's a problem. I would not be a member of the United States Senate if those men that he praised had their way. I wouldn't.
And one of the things they did is, and he inferred this, is they might have called someone like him who was younger son. They might have called a black man boy. And that's been part of the issue for a lot of African Americans we've talked to here and across the country.
Of course it is.
Is that offensive to you?
We cannot be ignorant of the history of race in this country. And certainly anyone who is a leader should not be. That is a very loaded term, loaded with a history that includes extreme racism, violence, discrimination, prejudice, you name it, all of that. It's a very loaded term. And I think it is very important that we all who are leaders or profess to be leaders, that we choose our words carefully, understanding the significance and the power of our words.
Thanks to Ed for powering through some laryngitis there. You can see more of his interview with Senator Harris on CBS News platforms, including CBSN and on our website.